And now a warm welcome to Rabbi Tuvia Aronson, who will guide us through this week's Torah portion. Thanks so much for coming in.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me, and shalom to all the viewers out there.
So, tell us about this week's Parsha.
So we're in Parshat Shoftim, which means judges. And like I said, in the past couple of weeks, we've gone from big issues to how we apply them in the world. And this week's Parsha, if you look through the whole portion, the theme that jumps out at you is different forms of leadership. It starts off with the Shoftim, the judges, and then it goes to the priests, the Kohanim and Leviim, the priest, then it goes to the king, and then it goes to the prophets. And there's four kind of aspects of both societal issues we can discuss and also how that can influence our lives as we head towards the new year. So let's start in the beginning, the Shoftim, the judges. It says that we have to put judges in all of our gates, that there needs to be a society that is focused on justice. Tzedek, tzedek tirdof. Justice, justice, you shall pursue. It could have just said one time, justice you shall pursue, but it says tzedek, tzedek. It repeats the word, and it's not for no reason. There's a few interpretations. One is that we're supposed to, not only the ends, a just end, we also have to have just means. The Rabbi Simcha Bunim of Pshischa says that we have to not only view our goals as having a just society, but the way we do it is actually sacred also, the way we set up our systems. And for each individual, it means how do we evaluate our own lives? How do we judge ourselves? We can say, have I given myself good advice this past year? Have I taken my advice and applied it? Have I looked at my life choices from all the different angles? Have I looked at myself favorably with a good eye? Have I looked for good points in other people, in the people around us? Have I tried to come up with new ideas on how to make my life more one that's focused on justice? And also it says tirdof, chase it. Not only to go after it and search for it, but to chase it, actively chase it. That means that there's certain things in life that we have to not only want, we have to go for it. And that one of them is justice and one of them is peace. Also it says, Bakeh shalom v'rodfehu. We have to chase peace, we have to chase justice, we have to constantly pursue it. So that's the first section.
So, when we speak about justice, there are so many different ways that you can apply justice to your life, and I understand that in this week's Parsha, there's actually a directive related to the environment. Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. That's very close to my heart, and I feel that it's surprising to some that the Torah gives a commandment that we're not supposed to cut down fruit trees in a time of war. And that was expanded by the rabbis to include any kind of waste, even to the level of not wasting a mustard seed. Or in the Talmud it says if you have two kinds of oil, we're supposed to choose the one that is more efficient, fuel efficient. And I think that the message there is that we have to look at our lives and say, how are we interacting with the natural world in a way that makes sense? And it doesn't mean that we're not supposed to take economic concerns into account. We are. But are we actively pursuing? I know Israel is like top of the line in alternative energies, but are we applying it in a wise way? Are we using the technologies that we're creating for the world? Are we implementing it? And not only that, I'd say on a grassroots level, there's more and more environmental awareness in the country right now. There's groups like Teva Ivri, the Interfaith Sustainability, Shorashim, that's Palestinians and Israelis who are saying, I love the land, you love the land, let's take care of it together. And if you think about it, that might be a wonderful opportunity to expand cooperation by saying, let's take care of our environment together.
And when we speak about justice, I mean, it's interesting because that's not a justice that's human to human necessarily. It's to the earth, serving justice to the earth that's sustaining us, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. The earth it's not only that we own the earth, we belong, we're part of it. It's kind of a deep ecology. There's a deep ecology in Judaism where the divine energy fills the entire world. And those who are sensitive to that spiritually and morally will take that into account and try to make their lives more caring for the environment. Not only, I don't only mean recycling. I mean going out into the outdoors and appreciating it, spending time in the natural systems. I know that I have close connections with in Kibbutz Ein Shemer. There's a ecological chamama, a greenhouse, where there's student groups coming all the time to learn about ecological systems, both Jewish Israeli and Arab Israeli. And there's a lot of exciting things happening in the country right now in that regard.
Absolutely.
So that's may I continue with the?
Yeah, of course,
of
course.
Yes, okay. So that's with the judges. And then we have the priests. The priests at the time not only were ritual leaders, they were the educators. So we have to ask ourselves, teachers, this is for all the teachers out there, are we valuing the teachers properly? Are we giving them enough parnasa, enough physical means or material means so that we can have the greatest minds being the teachers? I saw that in America right now, a lot of educators are driving Uber so that they can support their families. Are we valuing our teachers? And the teachers are the teachers valuing the students? And are we looking for the students to flourish? You know, the beginning of the year, teachers often are told, oh, this kid has this problem or that problem. Can we look at the good points? Where are they going to flourish and enhance the child learning from their strengths? So that's the priests, how we could implement that in our lives. Then we have the kings. The kings were in this parsha. It says the king has to not be overwhelmed with wealth, and also carry a Torah with the king. And I don't only mean king monarchy, because the Netziv Rav Naftali Tzvi Yehuda Berlin, about the 1800s, he says that the truth is democracy is a Torah value, that the king gets the power from the people, and the people have to give the authority to the government. Are we holding the government accountable? Are we holding our leaders to a high moral standard? And then we have the prophets. We have prophecy in the time of the Bible. And after the Bible, we lost prophecy, but they say that prophetic inspiration is found in children and in fools, in people whose imagination is not blocked off from their intellect. It's not compartmentalized or fragmented. And are we nurturing imagination in our society? Are we nurturing inspiration? Are we giving ourselves time to be inspired? Whether it's going out in nature, whether it's meditation, and there's more and more happening, but that's a very important value of leadership in this week's portion, that we're supposed to listen to that prophetic voice. The prophets in the time of the Bible, there's one approach that says it was like a lightning bolt of inspiration, and another approach that says, these are both in Maimonides, another approach that says that it was like removing veils of ethical or intellectual barriers between us and spiritual life. So one is sort of an outward moment of inspiration, and one is an internal work. Are we working to become more inspired people? Are we working to become more sensitive to our own voice of our own souls?
So how can, there's so many messages, I think, and lessons that we can take from this, but what would you say is the main lesson that we can learn from this week's Parsha?
The main lesson, I think, is that when we think of the Torah's advice or injunctions, commandments to society, how to build a healthy, vibrant, morally upright society, we also have to look at our own lives and say, as I'm going into the new year, my own life, have I allocated am I being a king? Am I being a king who nurtures my family and myself? Am I allocating resources properly? Am I educating my children, or am I just letting the schools take over that role? Is my prayer life rich enough? Am I giving enough time for personal prayer, developing my own connection? Am I giving time for new ideas to form? You know, when we get to the end of a path, new paths begin. But when we look at our sort of compass, our moral spiritual compass of our lives, then we can, before the end of that path, then we can move in seamlessly to the new year with a lot of inspiration, a lot of positive energy.
Well, we can only hope that everybody goes into this next year with all of that positive energy that you speak about, and I guess you can look at this week's Parsha to get more inspiration.
I hope so. On the surface, the Parsha, some people consider it a little bit boring. It has a lot of details about society. But if you try to find yourself in the text and make a dialogue with the text where you're trying to understand the text and the text enhances your life, then it's really a magical way of, and we do this each week. It's an incredible way for growth as individuals and as a community, as a society.
Well, thank you, Rabbi. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thanks for having me, and Shabbat Shalom to everybody.